Welcome back to the French Rugby Podcast with me, Tim Groves, former France hooker Benjamin Kayser, and ex-Scotland back row Johnny Beattie. How's everything going, guys? How's the new arrival settling in, Johnny?
Good, mate. He's in a separate room with his mum, so I don't know anything about it, which is great.
Who arrived?
No, I've got my responsibilities, the two eldest ones for the minute. So I'm on the early shift, porridge making, school run, all that stuff. But mate, honestly, he's been chilled even during the day. We don't even know he's there. He's sleeping the entire time, which isn't great because at night he's up having a party. But no, he's good. He's healthy. He's here, and he's in one piece. So all good. No, he's doing really well.
I spoke to you a couple of times during the rig, Johnny. I remember you were saying, "Oh no, I'm doing porridge for the kids and stuff." Instead of singing the Marseillaise or speaking French, they should ask you, "What do you eat at breakfast?" Porridge. You cannot have a French passport. Porridge is not French, mate. Porridge, that means you are a Scot in your heart, and you will always be.
I think it's even Scottish porridge oats we've got, mate. Being honest, imported.
So Johnny's eating porridge in France. What are you having in Kent, Benji?
Not porridge, but
you've got some in there. What is it? Go on. What's your breakfast?
No, I do protein bar. I'm trying to.
Let it go.
To go back. No. I'm going back to the gym, mate. It's all about the mental health. To be honest, I'm just doing it to not lose my shit, to keep the missus happy, and if I'm being totally honest, it's done me wonders. So I try to go not every day, but pretty much, and so I eat a little bit like some protein flapjacks and stuff like that.
Okay.
Benji, I have heard you on just about every podcast going this week, I think. So it's great to have you back on your home podcast. How's it been?
I prefer you guys, okay? I'll give it to you. I prefer you guys. Obviously, we laugh about it, but the circumstances are England-France at the weekend, which is the game that everybody wanted, the Autumn Nations Cup. So everybody wants to know a little bit more what's going on. But obviously that linked to the passing of Christophe Dominici. That was the reason why I got called everywhere. That's the reason why I said yes to everything, to be honest, because I can't speak enough about Christophe, and I think we should speak even more. Now's the time to hit it on the head, and to make as much noise as we possibly can, and to try collectively to actually get to a conclusion, because it's great to raise awareness, but to get some stuff going. So I was saying to you guys just before, I'm going to speak to Luceds, because I think they're a fantastic organization. There's another one that Alex Payne mentioned, I think it's Brain Mind, who are doing great stuff. And I just want to know what's out there. What are the tools that people could use? Because that's phase 2. And I want to get to phase 2 as soon as possible. Raise awareness is phase 1, fantastic, and Christophe's passing can only push to accelerate that or amplify that. But now phase 2, I can't wait to see it happen.
Absolutely. We will get on to chatting about the final of the Autumn Nations Cup a bit later on. But what did you make of France's win over Italy? Was it even more comfortable than you thought? I mean, you weren't far off with your predictions again.
What do you mean? I said 30 points, 31 points.
You said 32-12, I think.
I apologize.
You're a little bit out. Not as good this week. Didn't nail it this week.
I surprised myself on that one, to be honest. That was good, because at the first half I wasn't very impressed with what I saw. No, honestly, very happy with the win. Fabien Galthié, with his always his brain precision and his legendary precision, he didn't say we had a week of training. He said we had 2 trainings, one of 20 minutes, one of 21 minutes. I love it how he says that. It's too, but it's true though, because when you say, training, you think they can go for days. Well, players can't go for days, can they? They actually have a very limited amount of time to not put too much strain on their bodies and not use too much energy. So it was an extremely short week. I was a little bit disappointed by the outcome. Just typically, for instance, on the guy that I still think is going to kill it in international rugby, Sekou Makalou. He only caught his first ball at the 78th minute. And then he ended up scoring a try. And he actually did really well defensively. He worked hard and he contributed a lot. Great. But the stress, the general stress of the team, his individual stress, and obviously the conditions, it was very, very wet, made it frustrating. But I think I saw some good things. So actually the ones that struck out for me are the ones that I wasn't expecting. I was not expecting to be impressed with the second row from Paul Pessanti.
Amazing.
Oh, he had a good game. He just chopped people in half the whole game. He's not the biggest dude, but he like in a game, when it's wet, you need to chop the knees. We call it chop tackles, where you just need to get them down as soon as possible. Because if you try to hit hard, you can actually concede half a meter, and half a meter multiplied by 10 phases, you can end up behind your line. It's very, very hard. It's like a pick and go. It's hard to stop the guy on the spot. And I thought he did brilliantly well. I thought Gabin Villiers did really well. Yeah. Teddy Thomas, I almost lost my shit because I think he can do so much more.
We heard.
Oh, he can do so much more. I mean, he's incredibly talented, but if he doesn't do the hard graft, then he's going to penalize the team too much. He scored a 40-meter, well, maybe not 40, but he scored a 30-meter try by barely jogging. It's like fast-paced jogging for him. And if he went full tilt, he could have ended up under the post. It's just those little details. Of course, and for that particular game, maybe it was not necessary, but still. So basically frustrated with the outcome because I thought we could have seen even better, but obviously very happy with the results considering the circumstances. And then we'll talk about this week later, I'm sure.
So it was really interesting being there. So I was pitch side, and like you said, see Pisanti in the warm-up, I was like, this guy, this pack, like, isn't made for international rugby. He doesn't look big at all, but then physically he was an absolute monster. Hugely impressed with him. Garassi as well, the pair of them, I thought they were physical, like ridiculous that you can chuck out an entire 23 effectively and find two kids that are essentially ready-made for test match rugby. They were unbelievable. But then realistically, you go back, like, what are the chances of knocking 35 points on Italy with a completely changed team?
Yeah.
Hugely impressive. And it was weird. We spoke to, like, pitch side, we spoke to a couple of the boys after the game. We spoke to Brice Dulin and we spoke to Serrin as well. And they were just talking about, we were saying, what were the messages at halftime? Why was there so much kicking? And they said, look, we knew we had a completely changed team. Our messages from our coaches were,
exactly,
no pressure on ourselves.
Yeah.
Put everything down to the other end of the field. We don't want to play anything in our third, even our half, like no risk rugby at all, which you might think is negative, but I can understand why. Absolutely. Young kids, there was no rugby played, but
did you see, Johnny,
no risk. It was clever. It was smart.
Did you see after the game, there was a tiny clip of the motivation, the final minutes before they actually step onto the field with Fabien Galthie's speech? And he said exactly what Brice Dulin told you, which I didn't know at the time. You only see it after the game, but it makes total sense. Exactly what you said. He said, I can't remember what he said, for 20 minutes, on peut pas s'exposer, you can't, how do you say that?
Can't expose ourselves.
We can't expose ourselves for 20 minutes and stuff, but they did it for 40. But it was, I basically, to your point, it was a coaching strategy.
And I thought they might have come out at halftime and changed. And it kind of marries well with the point about Makalu. We didn't really see, whenever France got into phase play, they obviously haven't spent any time together. They've had 2 training sessions together. When you get into multi-phase, it's almost impossible. It goes into like one-out horrible rugby, which doesn't suit Makalu. His only ball carries were coming around the corner. But in terms of, look, you found out you had another entire front row that can scrummage international level. They were fantastic. You've got another line out that can operate international level, which we didn't know about. The second rows were physical. Your back rows all got stuck in. Walkie, Gelanche, Makalu, again, you talked about Makalu defensively. They all stood up. Brice Dulin, again, coming in after a massive ACL reconstruction, finding his form at La Rochelle, like hugely impressive. Jalibert kicked really well. It might have looked negative, but stuck to the strategy, stuck to the game plan. The coach will be delighted with them. So, mate, it was huge. 35 points on Italy, scratch team, but unearthed a bunch of talent that we didn't know about before that can compete and dominate another Six Nations team. So, hugely encouraging. I thought it was really exciting.
And to be totally fair with Italy, before we bashed them the whole time, I thought Garbisi had a really good game. I think he shows a lot of promise, that really young 10. I don't know how old he is exactly. I think he's 21 or 22 or something like that.
He's 20, I think.
20.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed, I have to say. He set up a great try for Minozzi, I think, in the first half. Yeah. So clearly they were dominated. And they're massively missing Negri and Jake Polidri. I mean, the task was just impossible without them. But they've got a fantastic fly half. Who can only improve. So it's still, promising stuff for the Italians.
Well, let's get our guest on now then and see what he made of that game as well, because he's been following this France side closely during the Autumn Nations Cup on Amazon Prime with you two. It's legendary France flanker, Serge Betsen. How are you, Serge?
I'm good. You?
We're very well. We were just chatting about France's game against Italy at the weekend. So what did you make of it? Did you think it went as expected?
Listen, it's always difficult to talk about the game before ended, and after the game passed, I think the boys did really well. First of all, they have a victory, but overall, we're expecting a lot more for some of them, and that I think one of the points Fabien Galthié will talk a lot this week, and the challenge ahead for Twickenham. So in general talking, I'm really pleased of the results and the fact that they made a huge difference in each of the player, and I'm not going to name some of them, but overall we were pleased. I think Benjamin as well. We talked about that afterwards. We were pleased of what the French delivered.
But you didn't want to name any names, but as the former killer of Johnny Wilkinson, chopper in half of basically half of the world rugby, what did you think of Pisanti's tackling technique or just his defensive activity in general? I didn't know the player, to be honest, and I thought he had a hell of a game. He just chopped people in half. You must have watched a few video clips of Serge.
It's good. It's true that some of player like Pisanti did the job, and as you mentioned, none of us knew the players before they started, and the good thing of the French players is they're really talented. They get the skills, they get the mentality, and it's just a matter of giving them the time and game time in order to explore and develop their skills. Then, I think forwards, talking about forward, I really enjoy the whole pack. I'm not saying they have some physicality to add into the game, but overall the skills was there. And we mentioned a lot the fact that Shaun Edwards is now defense coach for France, and those young talents who are in French team that they learn from him, I think, and we can see the confidence when they are into that role of defense and tackling, and I know Shaun for 10 years when I joined Waston, and that is for me the great asset of France so far.
And you mentioned that young team, Serge, is going to need some time together to develop, but obviously they don't have much time this week. They go to Twickenham for their final. Realistically, what chance do you give them of winning this game this week at Twickenham?
Like always, it's difficult to talk about the game and the chance there is none. It's funny because remember in February last year when England lost the final of the World Cup and they were going down to Paris to play against a non-French team. I have to say I was there, and the beauty and the fact that France turn up with a lot of emotion, with a lot of desire to prove what they're capable to. That is for me the trademark of what France can deliver. And again, we talk a lot about England, who are really expressing the best rugby ever in defense, in attack. But again, before the game starts, I want to just to say, as a player, I always feel like I will win the game, and that is my mentality, my goal. So we will see. I'm putting myself like I'm going to play on Sunday, and I'm talking like I'm going to be there to support the team. And I hope they will turn up with the desire to prove, because don't forget, we are in the road of 4 years of cycle where the World Cup is in France. I have to say, if I'm the coach and I think Fabien Galthié will play 4 World Cup, we'll talk about that. We need to take the maximum opportunity to be in that train, to be in that bus. We're going to take them to France. So you don't have a lot of options, and you need to learn quicker. And high level is all about that. They have a great turnover and short about Italy. They need to understand that the pressure is there, and it's not more about winning or losing. It's about behavior. It's about the character, about building the confidence to step up their skills and to play the best team in Europe, in the second in the world. It's just the best opportunity, I think.
And obviously, a lot has been spoken about the fact that it is a reserve French team. Essentially, it's the players that didn't play in the first 3 games of this autumn. I just want to get your thoughts on the kind of political situation, because obviously this situation has been ongoing for a long, long time when you were playing as well, I'm sure. So just give us your thoughts on what it was like when you were playing, the kind of battle between the FFR and the LNR, and the current situation where we're at, and how we get a better situation so we see the best France every week.
Listen, as you mentioned, I've been there, I've been in that position, and there is 2 separate situations. There is a political situation, and there is a team sports, and the fact that the player who are likely and being selected, they're in the position where it's a dreams come true. I dream to be playing in the highest level possible. I've got an opportunity to be selected by the staff, by Fabien Galthié, Raphael, Ibanez, who I admire when they were playing. There is 2 separate situations, and it's true that you need to make choice. You need to, as a player, you need to be in the position where you don't have to listen, you don't have to read all these media things, because you can't control that. You need to control what you can control. This is what is all about. So I don't know, as a player, you asked me the question, I don't know how to read. Never read the newspaper, so that facilitates some view, and for the player, you need just to say, how can I do to be the best possible player in that situation? 80 minutes, it's 10 years of preparation. You have a shot for 80 minutes to show what you are capable to. I think it's part of shift mindset. You need to understand and to put yourself in a position where you're going to have the best option possible for you, not for the media, not for the politics. It's about your dream. My dream is to play the highest level possible, is to win the World Cup, is to be part of this train. So my mindset is always being, what can I do in my position to be the best possible I can be? That's it. The rest is.
Absolutely, I'm on board with that. That was a great team talk. 10 years of preparation.
I'm in. I'm motivated already. I think you can almost, we can hear passion. Well, this is when you can hear determination. That means when he lines you up in defense, you didn't want to be there. So if he lines you up with a target, is a target. It can be a person, it can be an objective, it can be a game, it can be whatever. I felt like Johnny Wilkinson, and I just got chopped in there. Like my ribs are sore.
I was going to say, Serge, that like from a player's point of view, we're all on board with that. We completely get it. If you were giving that kind of team talk with the FFR on one side and the LNR on the other, then what are you saying? Because it's difficult, isn't it? Like we all know it's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult. We were talking about Benjamin the other day. We all play rugby, right? And I still don't understand the position of these people around what the player deserve. I've been here for 10 years. I still feel like I can't change. I can't change that my posture. Even I'm going to be in coaching. I think it's important to remember that if we want the quality into rugby, if we want safety, if we want flair and all that kind of engagement, who brought supporter in the stadium, who brought supporter into the business, we need to look after the player. The player are the people who do the show. Without the player, nothing happens. And we always forget that. And it's difficult to ask a player to be effective in a short period of time. That is the reality, the physiology, the biomechanics, the recovery, all that type of things. It's so important to be able to deliver what we want from the player. So I learned a lot from the last 10 years about the body. The body, our body, is not, it cannot sustain 50 games. I used to play 50 games a year. It's just impossible. That is for me something people need to understand, and the politics, people around the clubs, around federation need to understand that the player cannot sustain 50 games a year in order to be effective. So with that in mind, that's why sometimes I really like the fact that people take the objective of, if a player has to play 40 games a year, how can we put that in place program-wise, week in, week out, and to make that recovery intensity related on the end of the project, which is 40 games or 35 games. That's going to, for me, thinking like this, it's more preventive than the way we're thinking today.
So if there was one man that we were going to stick in front of the FFR and LNR and get them to come to a solution, I think we found him. Mate, you're passionate. This is awesome.
Yeah,
you're also
yeah. I was blessed to discover rugby when I was 12 years old in Paris region, Clichy-la-Garenne. I wasn't part of rugby or sports arena. I was lucky to meet at 12 years old this sport, and I always feel like rugby made me discover who I am as a temperament, a character, make me discover like I love challenge. The first thing I learned in rugby was tackling. And I always say the story, it's a girl who teach me how to tackle. And I always bless that moment because I was the younger of family. I was raised with single mom, and rugby gave me a lot of confidence throughout my my childhood, and yeah, it's so important to understand that we need people with passion, and we need, because now rugby is professional, we need people with a lot of expertise in order to have the effectiveness of what we deserve. And today there is a passion, but again, we need to have that with a professionalism in order to preserve health and to help the players to be the best they can be.
And obviously, growing up in Cameroon, you mentioned it there, Serge. Did you even know rugby at that point? You said you started when you got to Paris. Were you even aware of rugby when you were in Cameroon?
No,
and then when,
no.
and then when you arrived in Paris, was it? You sort of mentioned it there. Was it really helpful in terms of you kind of integrating into France and French culture, playing rugby?
Yeah, definitely. That's helped me a lot. I never heard about rugby before. It's obviously football, and I used to play in the playground like most of the kids. And when I arrived 3 years after in Paris, I was in the stadium just playing with my mates, and a guy come to me ask me that, do I want to play rugby? I say, yes, why not? He told me that next Wednesday, because in France rugby is a Wednesday evening because there is no school. He told me that next Wednesday, come here at the stadium at 3. And I always say that it's the first time I was on time in the meeting. I found really blessed that the club and the people around the club didn't know me, and they took the time to teach me what going to begin my passion. And that is phenomenal. When you're raised with single mom, you don't have dad figures, you discover a lot of things your mom told keep telling you, but we don't really click. And I found out then the coaches were talking to me about being there for your teammate. You need to put your body online for your mate, and that was the reflection of what my mom was doing for me, and to put everything for me to be who I am today is just unbelievable. Then I think that connection with what I was used to with my mom give me a lot of sense of what rugby was about, and like I said, I discovered that I wanted to be part of the team. I wanted to do the best things I can do with the team, and yeah, it's a blessing, and I always say that or every single kid need to hold the rugby ball in hands to change his mindset, to change the way he think of life, because yeah, I'm an ambassador of rugby. I always say that rugby is one of the best sports in the world. None of the other sports can catch what rugby is all about. Then yeah, it's I love my sports, and I love what everyone want to do to push rugby boundaries.
And you've obviously used sport as a vehicle for yourself and your career and your professionalism, but you've also created the Serge Betsen Academy, which uses those vehicles and the sport to push different agendas and help different people. Could you give us a little bit of background about your academy?
Yes, the Serge Betsen Academy was born in 2004 while I was playing in Biarritz, Basque Country. But originally, really simple stuff. I was playing my time in Biarritz, and a cousin sent me an email saying there's a rugby in Cameroon, and I said to myself, this is one of the great opportunity. I'm going to be going back to share my passion, and when I in 2000, when I get married, I went back there, and I was really impressed by the fact that there is rugby there. I never saw that before, and I was first of all looking to talk about just rugby, because yeah, playing rugby every day, that was my dream. But what's happened was I saw the way the kids are growing without any support. Sometimes it's difficult for most of them to go to school because they don't have money to pay the staff, and sometimes when they're ill or they need health treatment, there's some of them can die within an hour because they don't have any way to treat them. So I tweaked the idea a little bit, saying that I will use the value of rugby. I will use what rugby is all about, supporting each other, and I will turn it into an action, which is I told you earlier that I really like the fact that going to the club, I really enjoying the fact that people look after me, and I turn it into the same principle for my charity, which is we were lucky that we got 5 centers, 5 areas, 5 houses we rent. So the kids who are, let's say, underprivileged on that area, they come into the center, like a rugby club with the light. We got library, we got they had the food, etc. And we look after them literally, and they go back home. And the good thing for that is we introduce them to rugby, not necessarily, but most important thing is to talk about health and education. And today I'm really proud that we look after 450 kids every year for 16 years, and we are yeah, we do what we can in order to get them to A level, and they've got 85-86% success rate in the A level baccalaureate. and we are pleased because they got education, and we support them the way we can. It's really simple stuff, but it's make a lot of people being proud of being supporting by the charity, and that is it. It's really simple stuff, but again, I'm really blessed that I met a lot of people around who helped me a lot, and I've got a board member who are in charge, and I'm just there to talk about what we try to deliver. But it's again, it's a passion behind what humanity can do with other people, and that is rugby. And yeah, it's growing. We are really pleased, and we are in period of Christmas, and we are doing something very original. We are recycling rugby balls in wallets, bags, and we raise funds like this in order to continue developing this action.
I think you're an absolute legend. You can be very, very proud of what you've done on the pitch, off the pitch. I always say whenever I'm asked that, I think great men make great players and not the other way around necessarily. And I certainly think that you're the spitting image of that expression. I've got goosebumps every time you speak, whether it's in determination or just talking about the wonderful work that you do on the side. Huge congratulations. It's amazing. Just, I want to ask you a question because it's a subject that myself and Serge spoke about. Unless you want to speak about it, I don't want to speak about it again because it's a bit much, but with Domi's passing, you and I chatted about the fact of the brotherhood and the fact that we have to look out for each other. So you look after 450 kids in Cameroon and you're giving back. That's fantastic. But it really stuck with me during our conversation last time that you said, I think you played 16 years in Biarritz.
17.
17 years in Biarritz, chopping the half of the world in half, winning some titles, do some incredible stuff. But you didn't feel that, apart from a couple of close mates, you didn't feel that brotherhood was huge. I spoke to Mike Tyndall the other day, and he said the 2003 World Cup champions of England have done one reunion since. 17 years, one reunion for winning World Cup. And I'm thinking, where the hell is this brotherhood? Where is it gone? Surely we're not doing enough. And so basically, my question to you is to say, do you think that's where we went wrong with Domi, in the sense that we should have created more brotherhood, keep everybody in that inner circle, keep everybody connected? And could this be something that us four, should do a lot more even from today?
Thank you for your question, Benjamin. I'm going to be not really original because your question is very, very into what we should be doing, and definitely, certainly, I'm here to say that we didn't do enough for Domi, and I'm still feeling like we didn't. We didn't. I call him on the 11th of August to just know that he's okay. He told me that he was okay.
It's heartbreaking.
It's a sensitive subject and it's heartbreaking. Like, I wanted to, like, little things from Montpellier, Ben, that I wanted to raise with you are things like, for instance, at Montpellier Rugby Club. So I'm obviously a foreigner, but every 6 months at Montpellier, they have a 6-month meal for the forwards, and every 6 months they have a meal for the backs. And I feel like every club in England, Scotland, France, wherever it is, should have something like that where we all get together and look after our mates.
It's a difficult situation, and like I said earlier, we are a new professional sports. We've been I played 20 years of professional sport, and there is a lot. There's a lot to learn about what happened today, and there's a lot to pick up to other sports, and I feel like we don't really want to get it sometimes. It's difficult, but I've been, since the lockdown, I've been with WASP Legends. There is one of the most active group today is WASP Legend. Have a look, Peter Scriveners, they're doing an amazing job. We've been doing during the lockdown, week in, week out, every weekend, from Friday to Sunday, we've been doing challenge, drinking challenge, but again, to raise funds. I have to say that kind of initiative give me a lot of confidence during the lockdown, because we get together. There is 200 or 300 lads who play for WASP, all the generation. And we take time to share messages. And I was blessed that I discovered a lot of those people who play for WASP, who discover rugby through WASP. And telling my story today, it's the first time I do that, never have that opportunity or never feel confident to say that. And I learned so much through that group of people where there's Vickery, there is Simon Shaw, Lorenz Delaglio, all that legend of the game who did, like Benjamin said, win the World Cup. It's blessing, because we don't know each other as we should. We don't take time to really connect it, because we are busy, because we've got other activities. But like I said, it's rugby brought me so much. Then if I can triple that to each person I meet is fantastic, because that's why I am who I am. I can't change that. I always feel like whatever happened in my career, the way I see things is completely different, and I assume that, and I think we should, as the years go, is to say we are blessed to have met rugby. What can we do to change to change the mindset, and to be delivering the value we are talking about day in, day out. We talk about value day in, day out, and sometimes I feel, oh my goodness, I'm stuck in there. This is not rugby value. This is not rugby value, and I keep trying to do what I can. And to answer your question, Benjamin, I create, when I retired, a French legend. That's why I wanted to maybe mention that earlier about your podcast, French Rugby. I created French Legend Charity in 2012 with that idea. The idea of the French Legend was to just get to be together, because when you retired, nothing happened. Nobody take his phone to call you and to say, listen, come along, do something. And I managed to get along with a lot of my mates, Domi included. We play French legend, England legends in 2012, 13 maybe. And the last thing I did actually with Mike Tyndall, with help of Aero game 2 years ago at Twickenham and in France to celebrate the war. And Mike Tyndall was the captain, and I was captain for the French Legends. and Abdelatif Benazi was the manager. He couldn't play, but we had a great time. Again, that we need to replicate those type of things, because at the end of the day, even we are not playing in high level anymore, the friendship, the camaraderie, it's fantastic. And again, I'm going to talk about something I really experienced since I retired with Wasp Legends. Every year we go to La Manga to do a golf trip. I'm not good at golf at all, but I discovered this sport, but the friendship around that activity it's immense. We mix with ex professional player. We mix with business people who are really fanatic of rugby player, and we get on well, and we take time to raise fund again. For example, Dodiware Foundation. It's people are active in the UK a lot, I think, and we need to get on with this and support that. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I invite you all guys to come at Wasp Legend. I will put your name forward with Peter Scrivener, who are the guy behind this project. And yeah, it's fantastic. You play golf? You all play golf?
Badly. I'm discovering it just like you, mate. Terrible.
Yeah. Well, Scottish, I thought that this is your game.
I'm French, mate. I'm not Scottish anymore. I'm French citizen.
Absolutely. It's, all of that is really so well said, Serge. And I think we've said before how inspiring it is to hear you talk and sort of almost give us a team talk at the start. But I know that this subject is something that Benji's really passionate about as well. And it's even more inspiring to hear you talk about that side of things and how people need to get together and stay together. And it's been a heartbreaking week in French rugby, but all of these solutions that we come up with moving forwards, hopefully there will be some more action, and we'll see the positives come out of this, and there will be a legacy. And I just think for everyone listening, it'll be even more inspiring hearing people like you and people like Benji and Johnny as well, who used to smash people for a living, talk about their emotions and kind of get on the same page moving forward, so we can make a positive situation out of all this. And speaking of teammates, just to get things back onto the rugby side of things, you obviously played a lot with Fabien Galthié, you're big mates with Raphael Ibanez. So just talk about the job they're doing with France at the moment, because that's something special, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. They're really, really doing a great job. Yeah, you mentioned Fabien was my captain 2003 World Cup, and Raphael Ibanez, who actually was captain on all the team I play with, he was captain. And the funny thing is Raf who make me be here in London today, because they actually after the World Cup 2007, I call him because I was looking to maybe go to a club in England, and I call him to say, what do you think of this club? And he told me, no, come at Wasps. That's how that's what happened. And I was really pleased that I replaced Lawrence actually, because he was retiring that year. And that is the story. And they're my friends, and they're amazing. I have to say, for the first time ever, I think, because Bernard Laporte coached Fabien and Raph as well, I think for the first time, politics did something really positive on the fact that they get Fabien into the job very early, and they're getting to be part of the World Cup 2019 in Japan. I think that sets the standard of what Bernard Laporte wanted for the French team. And I think that gives the time for Fabien to get familiar with the French team, with the management. And I was scared a little bit to start with, because I said to myself, if things went wrong with the World Cup, the future will be difficult. But again, remember, Jacques Brunel was Fabien coach. he was the manager, and at some stage, I think that's shadow as well, Fabien. The fact that he was with somebody he know really well, and that set the platform of what it's today. And I have to say, I was there. I traveled to support France always with clients, and you can feel the difference. You can feel the confidence from the player talking about the detail of what Fabien brought to the team. And Fabien, he used to be a coach player, and we all know that he's passionate for the coaching. And now we see the difference he put and he made for French team. And that is, for me, the beauty of what this group of players are all about. And to add Raph on the top is the manager. He also took the time to learn from his past experience as a manager for Bègles Bordeaux, or l'UBB, sorry, Union Bordeaux-Bègles. And he took as well the time to go back to the New Zealand and understand some principle of team management, and he add that to the French team. And I always believe that to be open-minded as they do today with different type of coaching involved, that's going to help France to be consistent. And again, it's all about consistency, not just about winning or losing, about consistency of everything they are doing in order to develop the players.
Just a question from me. You said you were teammates, well, obviously, with Raphael, Ibanez and Fabien Galthié. I know because when I started in 2004, it was Fabien Galthié who was my head coach. And everybody always spoke about the fact that at some point, someday, he was going to end up French team coach. And he almost did not hide it. He would almost pretty much speak about it. But when you guys were still sharing the field together, when you guys were still playing, would you joke around? Was that the banter? Was it like, don't worry, you're a Bernard Laporte son anyhow, you're going to end up coach. And Raphael Ibanez, you speak so well, whatever, you're going to end up the French team manager. Or because there was Fabien Pelouse as well in there. It was a massive figure of French rugby. And maybe he could have been one of them. Was it already sort of a changing room banter or never?
Yes, of course. Fabien used to be the captain. He used to be in control of everything. You know the scrum half, how they look like. They're always in control. So Fabien used to do that. And again, there is two type of things. For me, the mindset is natural leader. Is natural to control and want to create things. And that is for his personality. But on top of that, he used to be scrum half captain. And yes, people talk about him a lot. And the fact is, there were politics and there were Fabien Galthié desire to be French coach. And again, politics and Fabien didn't match because for some reason, people don't really get on with what his philosophy was or the way he was maybe coaching. And luckily, Fabien was now selected. And remember, he was selected as well because he was out of Toulon as a coach, and he was available because there is some agenda where there is some coaches who are engaged with the club. They cannot be picked to be selected. So the good thing was that he was available, and Bernard Laporte was just elected. And you know what's happened around this election, and I don't want to talk about that. But today is Fabien. I think he deserves to be a French coach, and he showed in the past with you coaching the Stade Français, coaching Montpellier, coaching Toulon, that is capable to. That is for me the good thing.
And the other man in that coaching setup, who you mentioned earlier, you also know very well, Serge, Shaun Edwards. We spoke to Simon Shaw last week, actually, about Shaun, and he had some funny stories to tell. You know him well. He's a character. He's doing an amazing job. He's obviously the best defence coach in the world. but as a bloke, he's a funny guy, isn't he? Have you got anything you can share with us?
Wow, it's a good friend. It's a good friend. I can just share you that he's so passionate on the defense mindset. If you see his background as a rugby league player, he won everything he has to, and that kind of mentality is exceptional. I always say that when I met Shaun arriving at Wasp, Shaun teach me. For me, it teach me how to explain, how to tackle. You know, the detail of what it takes to be effective tackler, defender, it's immense. And coming from the rugby league and knowing all these small skills you need to put in place in order to be effective, those type of things come from my experience with Shaun. So it's sometimes it's difficult to understand what he's saying, but you can feel it. You can feel like if you want you to be doing like this, not like this. So if you don't understand, he's going to sometimes write you the detail of step in the paper and take you that for even before the game. It's so passionate in helping players to be on the top of their game, to be the best player they can be. And again, it use everything in place in order to do that. And again, I think the way we talk about professionalism as a coach with Fabien, it's the same thing with Shaun. He always into the detail. Everything is detail, and detail win the game. And Shaun's spirit is that so great. And I'm really pleased that the funny thing is when he decided to go to France, I was really impressed because I thought it's going to be difficult for him for the language to be talking French because you know how French are look like, etc. But again, that's the Shaun example is to show is not just about the knowledge of speaking French, it's about the feeling as well, and the way he feel things. You can transfer that to anybody, and that is for me the beauty of what he can bring to the team.
And mate, you talked about the detail, the effort, and the analysis that these guys have gone into. So Shaun Edwards, Fabien Galthié. I wanted to ask you about the exact same thing, because for me, you're one of the first people, along with Thierry Dusautoir, he came along a little bit later, but you're one of the first people that I saw change a game defensively completely by yourself. And you've been asked this question in French. I've seen you answer questions about it in French interviews all the time, but hugely famous performance against Johnny Wilkinson and the England team where you pretty much single-handedly dismantled the bloke. But how much prep and detail and analysis did that go into on an individual level? Because that was almost before defensive sets and defensive work was rewarded. It wasn't really talked about, and then you blew the game apart completely by yourself. So what level of analysis and detail went into you stopping Johnny and stopping that England side in that famous performance?
I talk about the tackling as the first session I did in my career, and the level of detail, I take it from different managers, different people. The first person about analysis was my coach he coached me 11 years, Patrice Lagisquet, famous winger for France, who played the first World Cup in 1987
and backs coach in 2015 of the French team.
Yeah, and he coached France. He coached you as well. And in the past, you remember the tape of the game was the video, and we used to watch the whole game on the tape with Patrice Lagisquet in Biarritz. We used to look at the whole game. It took us 2 hours, and in each action he used to stop and ask the player what do you think? And if you have to say something wrong, he's going to take you for the whole game and say, this is what wrong, this is what wrong, this is what wrong. This is for me the first learning curve of what Patrice Lagisquet was. And year after year, I think I developed, again, it's about develop your personality. I say that tackling was something I really enjoyed doing. And I wanted to be known by something. And it's true that the tackling is something I really enjoy doing. And that was something I wanted to develop in every game. So I learn a lot from different people. I ask questions. Again, I'm not from the rugby world, and I'm likely to be asking, challenging my teammates, and Thierry Dussault is one of them, because Thierry came to Biarritz when he was 22, something like this, and again, I was blessed in Biarritz to have such a long period of time with the club, and also being with a lot of players. An English player, teammate Richard Paul Jones, played the final of the French Premiership with Biarritz. That's the year I arrived at the club. Richard is my friend. It helped me a lot as a mentor, because we discuss everything, and it teach me Flower of Scotland, the first thing I learned in English, but it teach me a lot about the game, and that is the way I grew up. And I always wanted to understand, ask questions, be curious, and every year learn. And that game, I'm not going to be too long, but to cut it short, in 2000, I always say that it took me 3 years after my first cap in 1997 to 2000. It took me 3 years to come back to the French team, and I have to say it was too long, because when you get picked, you don't know why, and 3 years after, you get picked again with Bernard Laporte, and you don't know why. And by the time, I have to say, I did my homework to dream to go back again for the French team. And that game gave me a lot of things to think of, because in 2000, the first Six Nation tournament, I was on the bench. In Wales, we won the game. The second game was Paris against England. I was on the bench again. 15 minutes to go. We were winning a very close game, and Bernard Laporte take me to the game. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, I had a yellow card because I didn't retreat. I didn't get 10 meters back with penalties. And Bernard Laporte was furious, man. He's just saying, Serge Betsen, never again in the French team, never again. He said that to the media. He didn't say that to me directly. You know, in the selection, the manager don't have time to detail what their choice and the reaction. And I say to myself, this is the end of my career, because in the past, when a coach said that to the player, he never go back again, never ever. And it's funny because on that experience, I said to myself, I made a mistake, and I think very deeply to say, how can I go back to this French team? My family, the club support me, saying, okay, he's talking not really nicely for you, but you're amazing, etc., etc. And I say to myself, and that is the true things, I say to myself, he's right, because he's the manager, and I let down my team. They were 14 and we lost the game. And that was the starting point. And I have to work hard to understand that, my mentality, to understand that it was right. And I have to change myself, and I have to be different. And it's true that when you play in the club, you're the best player, you do whatever you want. And even Lagisquet was very furious sometimes against me. I was effective in what I was doing, but I was handling maybe 2 penalties or 3 penalties. For the club, it's okay. But when you come to the big stage, it's not okay. You have to change. You have to do something different. And I have to say, I've learned a lot about that. I learned a lot about my mentality. I learned a lot about how I can change my mindset. And have to work about psychology, mental toughness, imagery. I don't know how to say that in English.
Imagery.
But imagery.
Yep.
With the video, trying to change the behavior, showing the referee that I'm not obstructing the ball, that I'm away, because at that time the rules was very tricky. Before 2000, I wasn't allowed to steal the ball when I'm tackling, and I always have the penalties because I was tackling, stand up quicker, and steal the ball. I couldn't. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the rules against that kind of action, and the rules changed in 2000. And the 2000, the defense allowed to steal the ball. That changed my game. It changed the mindset, and I worked as well mentally to change my game. And the rest is the story, is history, because that game with the yellow cards, if you don't learn, you cannot be in the position to do that again. In 2002, the Grand Slam, that game against Johnny Wilkinson was just the blessing of Bernard giving me another shot, another opportunity to be able to play for the French team. And I have to make myself known, and I have to make myself I'll prove myself that I'm capable to. So I work hard in my analysis. I work hard in order to see, and again, thank what's his name again, Lagisquet, about being precise in video analysis, and I spot on some few things which is I put in place in order to be different, in order to be effective. And that effectiveness is what I want to when I'm on the field, I want to be effective. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to talk or the referee, etc. I want to be delivering something.
I think you definitely delivered a lot for a long time. In fact, it's crazy how I obviously knew that Thierry Dusautoir played for Biarritz. I never realized that you guys actually played together that much. And I'm just looking at the final, because Biarritz won it in 2005. Biarritz and Stade Francais was a huge rivalry. Do you know if you remember that massive fight? And it's actually in August or September 2006, following the 2005 season. We beat them at the 82nd minute with Domi scoring an incredible try on his own in the Parc des Princes in the semi-final of the H Cup at the time. And then we actually get them in the final of top 14, and they were ready for us. It was a brawl, basically, that whole game, with lots of fighting and all that. And we do end up losing on overtime. And in 2006, they win it again. And I'm just looking at the back row. 2006 was Biarritz, was Immanuel Harry Nordoki, Thierry Dusautoir, Serge Betsen. That's not bad. I think if you're playing 10, you're basically trying to pray for one of them not to come off the bench or to come off the bus, because otherwise you're stuffed, with Thomas Livremont on the bench. And I'm like, oh, okay, now
he was
I
a
understand.
beast as well.
He was a beast. So now I understand why they were so good. I mean, imagine you're playing 10 and you see both heads just pop up from the scrum, and on one side there's Titi, on the other one there's Serge, and you're thinking, where the hell am I going to go? It's not ideal. I never realized that. So it's not really a question, Serge, but it's more to say that's a hell of a back row. That's a hell of a. Is that the best back row you probably played with, or maybe with Charlie Mine in the French team? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best. as you maybe know and mentioned, there is a lot of talent in France. I was blessed to play with such an amazing, incredible players. Olivier Magne, Christophe Dominici, Marc Lièvremont, Thomas Lièvremont. Yeah, there was such a long list of players I play with, and that game, Benjamin, it's still in my head because, as you mentioned to me, we don't know how he make it happen. We were winning the game, and then the last action, Domi, I don't know how that's happened, and he scored that try, and we lost the game, and we missed the final of Heineken Cup. That we have to create something around that frustration. And again, you cannot win every game, but you need to learn from that game you lose. And yeah, Thierry Dissautoir, that year 2005, 2006,
2005-2006, yeah.
Well, 2005-2006, we won most of our game, and we did two final. We did Heineken Cup final in Cardiff against Munster, and the following weeks we have to play the other final, top 14. And I have to say, in the final of Heineken Cup, Thierry Dissautoir was on the bench, came into the game, and the game changed. But unfortunately, you can have a look. When I do my motivational speaker with the company, I always mention that miscommunication as a game changer. Peter Scrivener will score a try, tricky try, but the try will still, I can go over it because it cost us the final for Heineken Cup.
Cyril Ibombo forgetting to cover the blind side in the scrum.
Exactly.
Well, I'm telling you, Gisquet repeated that story to everyone all the time. He still dreams about it. Every time he has a glass of red wine or a beer, and it's back on. And Cyril Ibombo in the scrum, he forgot to stay in the blind side. Where was he? Where was he?
Yeah, but on that, I'm taking personally because it was on my side.
Yeah, okay.
It was on my side, and the thing is, miscommunication destroys us, because what's happened is the number 10, Julien Perlon, called him because the opposite number 11 was in front, and he missed to tell me that he's going. But again, if you look at the position wasn't correct. But saying that we lost, that I was so furious, so into that kind of curiosity. We went back to Biarritz. We did every day, we did a meeting because we were playing, we were playing the Stade Toulousain, the final, in 2006. Every day we were doing a meeting saying, not again, it's not going to happen again. And it's one of the first time ever a team lost the final of the European Championships and won the trophy, top 14. It's lesson learned. And Thierry Dissautoir wasn't on the bench; he was starting the game.
and more of the story, you put Thierry Dissautoir, you end up putting 40 points on Toulouse as well. That final, Toulouse did not touch the floor; they were wiped clean by the best team of that year by a mile.
Yeah, then what to say about the tackling is just a passion, mate. Passion. Long answer, but yeah.
And Serge, we can hear the passion about tackling, about everything. We've talked about all the work you're doing with your foundation, the fact that you're living in London at the moment as well. Obviously, you finished your career. We've talked about the detail that you've gone into while you were playing, about analysing your own game. You did a bit of coaching after you finished playing, didn't you? Is it something that you couldn't get along with, or is it something that you'd like to do more of in future, you and coaching?
I love coaching. And I did a little bit. I coached with London Scottish, a different coach, Simon Nemo, who took me around, who was the head coach, and I left for England Sevens, and he's part of Eddie Jones' squad as attack coach, I think. I love coaching, and I stopped that. I stopped that after 2 years to do my own program, and I run a rugby program here in London, Serge Betsen Rugby. We sell rugby to schools. I'm going to school in London to sell rugby and to get to see each kids in London with rugby ball in hands, like I said earlier. And I really enjoy. And hopefully I will be involved soon somewhere. I realize as well, like I said to people, coaching is tough, it's difficult. And I decided when I retired that I'm going to do things by passion, but also going to take time for my family. I say the story, which is part laugh, part frustration, because my first daughter, when she was born, I was playing rugby with France. I scored the first try against Italy in 2002. And I wanted to take time with my family, to see my kids grow, to take time to just be with them. I'm busy, but that for me was something important, because you see a lot of coaching changing life, moving clubs, etc. It's tough. It's difficult. It's a business where you need to be very, very experienced, and I like people like Zinedine Zidane who take time to learn and coach youngster before he went to coach the first team. I like that type of mentality where it's not about your past experience will give you the job. It's about your passion, but also your professionalism. That's why Fabien Galthié, Shaun Edwards, those people are really professional on what they are doing. And it's important because the player challenge you all the time, and you need to be able to give them something to do. And yeah, it's a passion for me. I always say, people who ask me that I want to coach the Basque Country, not Biarritz or Bayonne, but the Basque Country, because I believe it's a waste of a lot of things there, for example. And yeah, it's we'll see, but yeah, rugby, it's there's a lot to be done, I think.
And so for anyone listening to this, you're doing an amazing job with your foundations, coaching kids in London at the moment. But if there's a professional side out there, Serge Betsen is available.
Yes. Yeah, I said to Benjamin the other day, going to put me in one of his best club he's involved.
There you go. A 15% fee, Benji. That's all you want.
100%. I mean, if people had to be convinced, I think now they are.
Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you this morning, Serge. It's been amazing hearing your thoughts on everything. And good luck with the foundation and everything you do. And I'm sure after this, someone will snap you up as a coach as well in a professional setup as well.
Yeah, listen, thank you guys. You make me cry. Like I'm not going to. And next time I'm going to tackle you. If I see you. Okay? And,
oh God, you'll make us cry.
Exactly.
So now I have to take my revenge.
Oh, can I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Serge. This was absolutely brilliant. This is almost therapeutic. It gives me a lot of belief in the bright future for putting people first, putting heart first. That rugby will deliver what I wanted to deliver. That we will take care of each other. It's heartwarming. It's very important. It's very, very dear to me. And I think you're the shining example of the way that we go to. So, bottom of my heart, thank you very much. This was brilliant.
Pleasure. Listen, well done for your initiative. It's always good to see youngster coming out of the game and do what you do. It's good. It's positive, and keep doing this. It's important to get on with the X and yeah, take time. you mentioned that it's great that it's another opportunity, so we can talk about passion, we can share, we can discuss, and pleasure.
Thank you,
Thanks
Serge.
very much,
Amazing
mate.
stuff.
Thanks, Serge.
See you guys.
Legend.
I think you shut it there, mate. There's at some point you need to recognize greatness, take a few steps back, realize that I couldn't care less the score of the last top 14 game.
No.
that it's a men's world, that's a men's sport, and that 150% big men make big players.
So I was thinking about, see, as he was talking, I was thinking about, like we talked a little bit about it last week. What more could be done? And we touched on the charities, and I'm like, you could have Serge at the head of something. So the problem with all of these charities is that it's not driven by clubs. So you've got somebody like Scrivener who runs something at Wasps, which is fantastic, but you need something at every club. Like Montpellier, every 6 months, all the forwards get together and they eat together. All of the it's like an alumni club. And it's amazing. But what if you had like something that fell under like World Rugby, where there was an initiative to say, look, we look after rugby players so well, we're in this bubble, we get out this bubble, there's nothing. Everybody's just left and they get on. If you had Serge Betsen at the head of something that was part funded by World Rugby, that tapped into him having help in every single professional rugby club, so you had some sort of aftercare for every single player, or there was a club like the one at Wasps or like the one at Montpellier that did something for players after retirement to look after them better. And he'd be the perfect guy to run it and be the figurehead. He's an absolute monster. He's a legend. And you can see how much he cares when he speaks. He's passionate, and he's a fantastic bloke. But I was like scribbling down everything he was saying, like, how do you retain and keep the friendship, the camaraderie, and the human touch that you get when you're part of a rugby team after you leave? And that's exactly what we need. But it needs to be funded from somewhere, which helps every single club and everybody that's touched by rugby. But he's fantastic. He was so good, mate. Amazing.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Johnny. There's lots of different organisations, there's lots of different foundations, but they're very scattered around. It is sort of, the will is clearly there, and we've spoken about how this could be a catalyst, but it's who does that. Is it World Rugby? Because the funding is there. I know money is a problem at the moment, but the funding is there for various different initiatives. Is the onus on them to kind of say, this is something we're going to invest in? And then obviously we know characters like Serge are there to do it.
And he would do it in a heartbeat. And I know, for instance, like Scottish Rugby, they have a player liaison officer who's funded purely by Scottish Rugby, and his job is to maintain relationships and make sure everybody, but you know, as soon as you leave the bubble and you're out of the pro sport, it doesn't apply to you. So it's, what could we do? What you need to think big. It has to be thought big. It has to be done properly, and it has to be funded, or part funded by a body as big as World Rugby. And then the rest is picked up by individual clubs, and they get somebody in to go part-time or full-time, and it's run properly. But more needs to be done. I think we all agree. But amazing book.
Absolutely.
Yep. And Mike Tyndall, just to go back, had a good idea about saying implementing both on, so from IRPA, the equivalent Proval and all that, forcing players from the first professional contract just to put a tiny bit of money aside on like a global pot. But even if it's $10 a month or something, you know, you just realize each player will put $150 for their whole career per year into this common thing. There's 350 professional players. So that's already a lump sum of like 30 grand per year that you could get, you know, and that could be boosted by the league, who then will be forced to give whatever it is, 10 grand a year. And so that when the guy exits, he just gets an extra kick. And each year, after a couple of years, with insurance backing and the league backing and a federation, Minister of Sport, something, you could get just that extra kick to be like, right, we could pay for, you know, extra curriculum, we could pay for a support system, we can pay for psychological help, we could pay for all those things, whatever there. And I think the IRPA Proval are doing it, but it's also down to money. And money needs to be prioritized. And this should be put on the table. But I said, we raised the awareness, fantastic. Now, the way that you get to the concrete stuff, it's to be put like, you want to improve conditioning? You want to improve commercial rights, you want to improve quality on the field, then you improve player welfare. Player welfare is the security on the field, which are trying to concussions, the canal rachidien, you know, the size of your sort of your neck canal and all that, which was a big worry at the time. Fantastic, yeah, has to be addressed. Even though in the English Premiership they don't take care of it the same way as in France, but still, you know, they're trying to do something about it. Fantastic. Well, post-rugby reconversion, transitioning post-rugby and mental health in general has to be one of them, you know, one of the main pillars of being like, this budget needs to be cut to it. The players will chip in, but like I said, putting in a bit of money, I thought it was a good way of, from Mike Tindall, I think it was a good idea actually to show involvement and importance that players give to it. Whether, I'm not talking about $1,000 a month, you know, just show that you're ready to commit a tiny bit of your budget on it.
Absolutely. And it's great that people are talking about these ideas now, and hopefully more will be done moving forwards. And it was an absolute privilege to have Serge on. It almost seems a bit strange to go back to talking about rugby now after all that, but there is a final this weekend. We did speak about it briefly with Serge. Given your Nostradamus, Benji, give us your predictions for this weekend.
Nah, this time no predictions. This time no predictions because it's a tough one. I think it's an impossible task to ask a young rotated French team to rock up to England, who've lost 2 games against France in Paris and the final of the World Cup in the last year. I don't think there's any injuries. I don't think there's any forced turnover. It's not like you play in France where the crowd could compensate potentially a little bit of that lack of something. You're playing in Twickenham with 2,000 people, I think there's going to be, which is already very good news, which is already much better than nothing. So it is a tough one, but like Serge said, the importance is not even there. The importance is do you want to jump on that boat? You want to jump on that train of a successful French team looking straight into the direction of the World Cup 2023? Here's another shot. So the first shot was Italy, which was good, but at the same time, it wasn't the best performance of all times. Now, rise to the occasion, show that you can go. Look, we mentioned the game that Serge Betsen in 2000 or 2002 played and chopped Johnny Wilkinson in half. If Sekou Makalu, Anthony Gelonche, Cameron Woki, or potentially Selefio Tolofua, the hooker who played in Saracens, his younger brother, who plays 8 in Toulouse, who's very good. He's not the biggest.
He's incredible.
He's very, very good. I mean, potentially, if they play out of their skin there, win, lose, draw, whatever, they could put their name down in history to be like, right, on the toughest moments, I delivered. And that's a huge statement.
Yeah, mate, I agree. It's like all logic points towards an England win. Yeah. But I think everybody would love to see something different. It would be so boring if England won, but it would be fantastic for the sport. Also, like we talked a little bit, it's been a bit of a drab kick fest. It would just be fantastic if this young French side rolled their sleeves up and dug something really special out. Like to cap off their year that has been superb, to have a change 23 of young kids go to Twickenham and turn them over and win would just be unreal. So I think everybody agrees, yes, by all logical norms, England should win, but I don't think anybody wants that. I think the wider rugby public would love to see France go and batter them and do something fantastic and different. So I'm going to stick €5 on it, see what the odds are, and fingers crossed. Because it would just be an unbelievable end to a 2020 that has been a complete change in fortune for French rugby. So fingers crossed they can do something and upset the odds.
Absolutely. And just very quickly before we go, you'd mentioned it there, the kick fest, the tactics that we've been talking about. England have been heavily criticised. Eddie Jones doesn't care. If you're France going there with a second string side, but people in England might not know these players, but they're still very, very good players. Mm-hmm. We've spoken about how good, particularly you, Benji, Fabien Galthié is tactically and technically. What is he going to be telling this French side? Obviously, you probably get Serge Betsen in to do the motivational speech by all accounts, but tactically and technically, how do they play this game to beat England? Because they can't just play England at their own game, can they? They can't just kick and smash.
Definitely, but I think Shaun Edwards will put something in place, not a defense to try to not concede points, but a defense to actually attack them. I think he will spot some areas He will spot the key decision makers. It wouldn't surprise me if Ben Youngs was under tremendous amount of pressure at the weekend. I think they're going to find some sort of way of, putting maximum pressure on their boxing, kicking out kicks, on George Ford, Owen Farrell, depends who starts at 10. I don't know how they're going to decide it, but George Ford is going to be under a tremendous amount of pressure if he does start. Owen Farrell can sort of soak it in, so it's a different mindset, but they're going to try to attack the decision makers, I am sure. They're going to try to disrupt the absolute certainties that they've got. So potentially by offering something different. So I think if you've got Tom Curry, Underhill, Billy Vunipola, you pose Cameron Vauquy, Sekou Makalu, Tolosio, Tolofua, or Anthony Gelange, you're making a statement. Our back row is not just there to chop people in half and cause a mess in the rucks. They're actually there to create, to be on the edge of the field, rather to be in the middle instead of trying to compete. So it's already that you're trying to impose something different. So I think defense will be aggressive to actually try to cause disruption from the start. And I feel that the kicking game strategy is going to be huge. I have a feeling that they might, let's just say, if you play same pattern, you try to match the physicality, it's not going to work. So I could expect from Fabien Galthié to be like, we're going to hit the short side all the time. We're going to try, because I saw it the other day. Do you remember that little trick that Aaron Smith and Ben Smith had with the AB? So the 9 gives to the winger position at 9, gives it to the 9 who's positioned sort of at 10 and back inside to the winger. Remember that one? Or around the rucks? Just those tiny little plays that make you just think outside the box. Normally it's meant to eject, put pace, whatever. They're going to play the blind side. Dummy that you're going to eject, maybe a chip over. They're just going to try to do with something different without necessarily creating crazy amount of rugby produced, I reckon, in their own half and in the beginning of the game. Pick certain moments, because that's where the good balance of Galtier will be. So basically trickery. Aggressive trickery in defense and aggressive and trickery strategy in attack by Galtier.
I don't think there'll be any change to the kick strategy. I think that's been the boring bit. It'll be the exact same. He'll put no pressure on his young kids.
Sorry, Johnny. What I meant by his kick strategy was more kicking to their wingers, cross kicks in an almost attacking kicking game, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I didn't mean like getting out of your own. Exactly.
Yep. No, but I like the exact. I don't think there'll be any change to what they did. Like they kicked a lot and everyone criticised. And England kick a lot and everyone criticised. I don't think that'll change this week. It was all I was going to continue and say. I think the difference, if they're going to unpick the English D, like you said, the trickery, it comes, and Fabien is very, very smart on this. It's like cute starter plays, whether it was maul breakouts, ball back insides, or you saw them unpick the Scottish defence by finding that Ali Price shoots out of a hole. He's clever in his analysis. He finds the hole, picks it out. They scored off first phase against England in the Six Nations for an amazing starter play. If they're going to win, it's going to come down to something like that. So staying in the game tight, and then once you get field position from an unforced error, a scrum or a launch play in English third, you score off it. And I think that's what Fabien has done fantastically well with this side, with Montpellier, with Toulon as well. He's a smart man. He'll try and keep it as tight as he can with Shaun Edwards' D. It'll be rock steady, and then it's when they get that chance to launch properly and throw something different with a bit of variation at this English team to take the chance. And that is how they're going to win. We've called it here, Benji. There we go.
We will see. We will see what happens at Twickenham at the weekend. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Benji. A huge thank you to Serge Betsen for joining us and for everything that we spoke about with him. And thanks to all of you guys for listening as well. Make sure you hit subscribe, leave us a nice review, and watch us on YouTube, download on every podcast platform. And we'll be back with another episode next week. Au revoir, guys.
Cheers, boys. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.